Hello, and welcome to another drawing video. In this video, I'll be doing something a little bit different, and that is that I'm not going to be using a script. I'll just be talking straight to the microphone, right off the brain, hot and fresh. No script telling me what to say, because that's what I usually do, and I feel like it's kind of been a little bit of a crutch to some extent. I would like to get better at just talking without thinking about it beforehand, and I feel like this is a good way to practice that. I don't know if you watched my last video, the one with the odd ones out, where we sit down and we talk, and that didn't involve a script either, and that is kind of what made me realize that I could use some practice with just talking, because I don't know, I feel like that video wasn't so hot, at least on my part. Mr. Odds Ones Out was great. He's obviously very comfortable with that kind of thing. Me, I'd never done that before. And so having a conversation with the intent of it being entertaining content just off the bat like that was something that I struggled with a little bit. I mean, it still turned out okay, but I definitely feel like it could have been better for sure. And I also realized that having a kind of good, smooth, nice flowing conversation with somebody over a voice chat is also very hard to do when you're not good at talking in the first place, because normally when I have a conversation with somebody, I can kind of go off of visual cues, I can see expressions, and that sort of thing. It's very helpful for making a regular conversation, but there was none of that when we were talking, because that was through Discord. We were thousands of miles away, so it was tough to do. And I'd like to get better at it, honestly. So, I guess I'll start out by actually talking about what I'm doing here. This will be the dedicated portion of the video that's actually set aside to talk about the video itself. And so this whole drawing kind of started when I received a gift from my uncle. And that gift was the pen that I'm using, which is a very cool pen. It's a fountain pen, is I believe what they call them, because it has a nib at the end, like you would have with a calligraphy pen or a feather pen or whatever, but it also has its own ink reservoir, so you don't have to dip it every time. So it's kind of like a best of both worlds thing. You get the fun of using a nib, but you don't have to worry about dipping it in ink every 10 seconds. So that's a very cool thing, and I wanted to make a drawing with that. Why did I decide to draw birds? Well, that is quite simply because I think that they're neat, and there's no other reason for that. I did also feel like my place needed another picture somewhere, so my plan is to frame all of these drawings that you're going to see me draw together as one piece and just hang it up in my house. And then when I have somebody over, I can be like, yeah, I made that. That right there is an original Thomas. But yeah, speaking of making new pieces of art for my own place, that is a recent development that has happened. I moved out of my parents' place about, like 3 months ago, and into my own apartment, where I've been living since then, and I also have a job as a nurse, which makes me a fully functioning adult to some extent. So that's pretty cool. That's kind of what's been going on recently. I graduated nursing school in December, and then took about a month to prepare for the licensing exam. And actually, this licensing exam, I kind of want to talk about that because it was a bit of an interesting experience. This exam is called the NCLEX. I have no idea what it stands for, but as far as I know, it is literally just the exam that you take if you want to be a nurse in the United States. And so it's kind of like the final frontier, the final challenge to overcome once you've passed nursing school. So I had to schedule this exam about a month ahead of time, and the closest testing location that they had for the time period I was shooting for was about 4 hours away. And let me tell you, having to drive for 4 hours before taking that was the most important exam that I had ever taken in my life. And to start that off, by having a nice little 4-hour jaunt staring at concrete on the road, getting my mind all nice and numb. It's all goopy and just is sloshing around in my head. I got out of the car and it's just dripping out of my ears. Yeah, that didn't feel too good. I didn't feel particularly ready to take the most important exam of my life. But, you know, what can you do about it? So I get there, I get out of the car, I go up to this, like, office building, and there's some dedicated room on, like, the second floor where they're having these NCLEX exams. And I get in there, and there's, like, I don't know, 4 people all sitting in chairs in this room, except for the chairs are all equally spaced to, you know, be compliant with COVID precautions and all that. So I take my seat, and there is a front desk at the head of the room with a receptionist. And what this receptionist is doing is she's got a list of all the people that are scheduled to take the exam that day. And what she was doing is she would call up one person at a time and then go through this whole, like, probably 15 to 20 minute spiel about the rules and regulations of taking the test. And that covered things like when you can take a break, if you can get any food, the cell phone policy, where to store your belongings, what you can take into the testing center, and things like that. But the thing is that she said literally the exact same thing to every person. She practically sounded like a pre-recorded message, probably because she had done the same routine so many times. And she even used the same lines each time. Like, she would end the portion where she talks about what you can bring into the testing center with, and the all-important chapstick. And that was the exact line that she used every single time, talking to every person. And so, while I'm just sitting there in my chair, absolutely just sweating my brains out because I'm so nervous about to take this enormous test, she's just going through the same routine with every single person, when she could have just said the exact same thing once to everybody and then just let us go take our test, instead of making us wait there for probably half an hour extra than we needed to, just to be nervous. You know, okay, here, you can either sit in this chair for about 5 minutes and then go take your test, or you can sit in here for 30 minutes to, you know, to give yourself more time to, you know, build up some more anxiety, worry a little bit more, second guess yourself on some things, that sort of thing. You know, no biggie. If you just wanted a little bit more time to do that, that's what we're gonna do for you. But she did eventually get to me. I got my own rundown of the rules of the place, and I got to take my test, and I passed, just so you know. I didn't just pass, actually. I kind of killed it. It's a weird test, but I did really well. That's all I'm going to say. I kind of destroyed it. I absolutely murdered it. The test isn't even alive anymore. Nobody else has to take it because I beat it for them. But then I got to do my whole 4-hour drive back. And the drive back was a lot more tolerable because I made a travel friend. I don't know what else to call them, but I'm going to explain to you about the intricate relationship of a travel friend when you're on the road. And I don't mean somebody that's, like, actually physically in the car with you. I mean somebody else that's driving on the road. This was a friend that I made simply by communicating with my driving, which is kind of weird if you think about it. Like, I'm absolutely hopeless by communicating verbally. But apparently, I can make friends by just driving, which I guess that's a skill in and of itself. And so how I made this travel friend was, I was speeding on the interstate. I'm not gonna tell you how much. I would just know I was speeding. And this other person, he's like in some sort of white Ford truck, he wanted to speed too. And so what we did was we formed this sort of symbiotic relationship where I was the person in front, I was speeding, I was passing other cars, and they were following me at the same speed, which is beneficial to him because I'm more likely to get pulled over, right? If I'm the one caught speeding, because I'm in front. But at the same time, I'm slightly less likely to get pulled over because now I'm in a group. And at least to me, it makes sense that if you see multiple people going at the same speed, even if they're speeding a little bit, that's maybe, you know, that's the flow of traffic. That's what it is there. And so I felt like I was less likely to get pulled over because there was somebody with me who was also doing the same bad thing. You know, it doesn't sound very good when I'm saying this out loud. Like, it really doesn't make any sense now that I'm actually hearing myself say it. But you know what? It does feel more comforting to have somebody breaking the rules with you. And that's basically what was happening. So we drove like that for at least a good hour, I'd say, a good portion of the trip. And eventually, he decides to pass me. So he absolutely floors it, he gets in front of me, and he decides to speed even more than I was. So he was basically the top now. Like, I was the top before... Oh my god. I was the top before, now he's the top. He's taking charge, he's the one in control. And honestly, I'm okay with that. Like, I had my share of being the one in front, speeding, but he wanted to take it up a notch, you know, he could be the one in front for that. That was okay. And so I followed him for about an hour, and it was great. We made really good time. And just as it so happened, we were getting off at the same exit. Except at the end of the off-ramp, he had to turn left, and I had to turn right. And it was basically that scene from Fast and Furious, where Paul Walker and Vin Diesel are driving down the road together. You know, there's that song playing, "Without You, My Friend," that thing, and then they stop at the intersection, and then they stare deeply and longingly into each other's eyes before parting ways. It was pretty much like that, except for I turned to my left to look at him, and he just gave me a wave, and then I gave him a wave, and then I took off. But that was an amazing experience, because I don't think I've ever formed that deep of a connection with somebody without ever saying a word to them. I take it back, without even ever seeing them. Because when we were driving, we couldn't see each other. I just knew he was some person in a white Ford pickup. That was it. Never laid eyes on him. But at that intersection, I could tell. We were friends. We had been through 2 hours of driving together, risking our skin for each other. There was a really strong emotional bond that we had made. A single tear rolled down my cheek. I'm sure he was absolutely bawling his eyes out. But yeah, that was a new experience for me, and that was pretty much how my whole testing experience went. So yeah, here we are. I didn't have any plans for how long I was going to make this video. I was just going to talk and see where it got me, and then that's just how long I'll edit the footage to be. But thanks for hanging out with me. This was, I guess, kind of like a podcast in a way, about nothing in particular. It's a very small podcast. Small cast. That's what it is. Thanks for joining me, though. If you like the drawing, I actually have print poster things available on my shop if you'd like to get one, so go check it out. There's a link in the description. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Maybe even like this video, give it the old thumbs up, hit that notification bell. But yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Anyway, thanks, bye.